Hello everyone, welcome to DataNext podcast. This is your host Zishan Beg. I am founder and CEO of DataNext Solutions based in Chicago, Illinois. At DataNext, we take care of all your cloud, big data, and DevOps computing needs. So today's topic is 5 hours of application migration strategies. Yes, it's about 5 different migration strategies you can use when moving to the cloud. Gartner published a paper back in 2011 about application migration strategies, and in this podcast, I will explore more into it, how they look like, what are different strategies, and what are different pros and cons of each strategies. So, without any delay, let's dive into it. So, before we get into the individual migration strategies, it is good to have some kind of a discovery phase to determine what's in the environment, what are different integration points, data flow, licenses, and any other inventory that would help to set the baseline. And using that knowledge, you can plan which applications to target first. And the key, in my opinion, for successful migration is to go for a quick wins. Start with something less complex that could give you immediate positive results and a good starting point. So the first approach you can take is to rehost your application to the cloud. Rehost means also lift and shift, where you actually lift your applications from on-prem physical infrastructure to the cloud compute services such as AWS EC2 or Microsoft Azure VMs. Uh, Rehosting is somehow most common and affordable solution, and it gives you immediate benefit of cloud computing. It makes your CAPEX, capital expenditure, to more OPEX, operational expenses, as you pay as you go model. So you don't have to physically maintain your physical infrastructure or anything. You can actually use these cloud services. Other benefit you get is that elastic storage services. For example, you're running a database servers where you usually run out of a disk space and stuff like that. So you can quickly add disk and increase the size of disk on the cloud. The cons are some, not more, but sometimes lift and shift is more complex, required some special tools to purchase. For example, convert your VMs to the cloud and stuff like that. AWS and other, they provide tools for that as well, but there are also third-party tools that you might need to get into. It depends on your applications. Another thing is that if you have very stateful application, then it might be a little difficult to get complete benefits of the cloud computing. But usually rehosting means one-to-one mapping. For example, you have 3 servers running, so you have 3 instances running in the cloud. Another approach you can take is to re-platform your application, which is similar to lift and shift, but during that process, you can replace some artifacts with cloud services. For example, you have a database server running on-prem, and when you move to the cloud, you can replace with some fully managed cloud services such as AWS RDS. By doing that, you can get some benefits out of the cloud. You save on infrastructure, but also now you save on software licenses as well. So you can cut the cost of software licenses by moving to the cloud. And you get the opportunity to move out of the vendor locked in. For example, you have Oracle database running on-prem, but when you move to the cloud, you have more options. You have like Amazon Aurora, MySQL, Postgres. So you can migrate to a different database as well. Also, fully managed database services would give you less operational overhead. You backups and recovery, backups usually taken automatically, and the cloud provider would be responsible for any recovery and stuff like that. The cons are it could be expensive than the lift and shift, simple lift and shift. It could become a little bit complex to test the applications, like your application running in all different services. So, and you might have to change some application code to leverage these cloud services. So, replatform is another option you can go with. Another strategy is to refactor or re-architect the application. So re-architecting is the process where you modify your existing application to leverage cloud services. This is the most expensive option, and but the returns could be more benefit as well, because you think like cloud first approach. You know that how you will design the application, and then in the future it gives you the benefit to market quickly. So it's quick time to market in the future, and you are using all these cloud services which give you the luxury to uh, think more cloud first approach. The cons could be that it's most expensive. It could be most expensive. Then you need a good business case to actually to work with the top management that you really need to refactor your application to the cloud first approach. And it could be very time consuming as well, because you have your application running which nobody wants to touch, and you want to refactor that, so you have to have a good understanding of your application as well. But this is one of the approach you can take when you move to the cloud. So refactoring is another option. Another option is to rebuild the application. So the difference between refactor and rebuild is, in rebuild you discard your legacy app altogether, and you say, okay, we are building a new app altogether from the ground. And then you take the design with the cloud computing. The benefit is like you can modernize your application. For example, old legacy monolithic application you can design using microservices. You can improve the developer productivity. Sometimes you see that you have very old legacy application running environment, and you don't have the resources available to look into it. Nobody wants to touch that application code or modify it. The application is running in silos and it's running forever. Nobody wants to touch to break it. So that is a good opportunity when you decide to rebuild the application. The problem with that only I see is that when you rebuild the application consumers might be a good resistance to adopt the new application. So they would be like forced to switch to the new application. So and you have to redefine your SLAs and everything all together. But this is usually a good approach where, for example, when back in a day you had like mainframe systems. So there is like when the internet came and all modern applications came into it, then a lot of rebuilding happened. So with cloud computing also we see now every new project we think of, as a cloud first. But you can also replace your old rebuild basically your old legacy applications with this approach. And the last strategy that I'm going to cover is to replace your application with something off the shelf. So this is normally based on a case where some SaaS company provides a better solution. That's something you can do yourself in a short time. So for example, instead of developing a CRM application yourself, it is cost effective and a good idea to go with salesforce.com. Or instead of running your email server on site, you can go with G Suite or Office 365. That gives you less administrative overhead. Mobile, you get more mobile, better features, flexibility and support. You get good value, and usually SaaS applications are very affordable and per user licenses. And the only cons are sometimes these applications are limit in customizations. There is like kind of a limitations to do some customization, some data access. So you have some REST APIs to access the data, and it also gives you some vendor lock-in. But benefits are more when you move to the cloud. So this is another strategy to replace your existing application with some SaaS application. So this ends today's episode. We talked about 5 R's of application migration strategies, the 5 approaches you can take to move to the cloud or any other application migration. First was rehost, which is also called lift and shift. Other was revise, and also known as replatforming. You can also refactor your application. You can rebuild your application and discard your legacy application, or you can simply replace with some SaaS application. So hope you like this episode. My name is Zishan Beg. You can contact me at podcast with the S at DataNext Solutions. I again say podcast at datanextsolutions.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at IAM Zishan Beg. I can spell it IAMZEESHANBAIG. Also, you can follow DataNext USA on Twitter, and I'll see you next week with another episode. Thanks for listening.